Hello from the Music Interview Corner, guys. I have something special for you today. I'm here in Helsinki with Gloryhammer, with Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
And we managed to meet up here in Helsinki because Gloryhammer is working on a brand new single. And we're recording this in August. And the single and the interview will probably be released like sometime in November or December, right?
Yeah, I think so. Sometime in the future. Hello, future people.
Yes. Yeah, that's like time travel. That's a typical Gloryhammer thing. But first of all, there's a major change in Gloryhammer. You will no longer have a keyboarder. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, we decided to fire me and replace me with me, I think.
Oh, good.
Basically, the difference will be that I'm moving. I guess by the time this interview comes out, everyone will already know. Mm-hmm. But I will have moved from keyboards to second guitar with Paul on main guitar as well.
Cool. And why did you decide to switch from keyboard to guitar?
Kind of a lot of reasons. I think probably most people know that like Gloryhammer, as with most power metal bands, is using tons and tons of backing tracks. And I guess that's kind of normal now, but like also whenever I think of, if I see a band, you know, and they're like, I've seen bands miming guitar solos, or like even now bands having like all the lead vocals on tracks. Mm-hmm. And when I see that, it kind of pisses me off. Even though in Gloryhammer, it kind of began as a joke, like as most things with Gloryhammer. I think in the beginning, Ailstorm were super like strict about like we use no backing tracks, and they have two keyboard players, as everyone knows. There was never any tracks. And when Gloryhammer formed, Crispy and Chris wanted to make it funny, so he was like, Gloryhammer will be all backing tracks, you know, I just want to get drunk on stage. Mm-hmm. And it was like this, you know, and when we swapped over, it stayed the same. And I guess I never really thought about it too much until like this year when we began to, you know, do some pretty big shows. We had the co-headline tour with Beast in Black. We had headline USA tour, first shows in Mexico. And then meanwhile, I had done some other shows with other bands on guitar. And I was like, you know, I'm kind of like not feeling this as much as the smaller shows when I'm playing guitar, you know. And then I think the real catalyst was in USA, like someone who was close to me died. And I began to think about, not in a negative way, but like life in general, like what makes you happy and stuff like this. And you should only do what makes you happy. And so I think the real catalyst was Sweden Rock, where I met with you as well. Mm-hmm. Matt from Brothers of Metal came to me after the show, and he was like teasing me, you know, like, oh, why is this like great guitar player like stood on stage pretending to be a keyboard player or something? And I was like laughing with him. I was like, yeah, you know, haha. Mm-hmm. And then I went home and I was like, yeah. And I emailed the guys, and, you know, I just sort of said like, I would like to, you know, either move to guitar or I need to focus on something else outside of Gloryhammer because I just want to be happy, basically. Mm-hmm. And they were super supportive. Like they all replied pretty quickly, and they were just like, yeah, of course, you know, like, so it was as simple as that, you know, there was no bullshit. And so, well, I guess by this point I will have already done 4 or 5 shows in Japan, in Denmark, and maybe Germany. So yeah, hopefully those shows went well and everyone is happy still. But yeah, that's kind of it.
Cool. I was just thinking maybe it will make the fighting easier if Angus is closer to Zargothrax, because you're not on this podest anymore, on the keyboarder podest. I think you can beat up Angus more easily now.
I will probably mostly still stick around on this spot because I kind of like it, but like, I don't know, maybe I'll throw my guitar at him or probably not, but like, we could see.
Some new action.
Yeah, it will be exciting.
You just mentioned that Gloryhammer had the first shows in Mexico. How was that?
Yeah, amazing. It was just one show before the USA tour in Mexico City, and like the crowd is so loud, you know. It's like playing. I think it was like 300 or 400 people, but like as loud as like 2,000 people in most countries. You know, it's absolutely crazy. And I really love Mexico as well. Like I always wanted to go there, and you know, it was everything I kind of hoped it would be. So I'm hoping we can go back.
And since we're talking about the instrument switch, we, of course, said we're going to talk about your musical journey. Mm-hmm. Over the years, besides Gloryhammer, you've been in many other bands. And we just want to talk about the most important ones today, which would be Traces, Nexus and Furius, Deathcode Society, and, of course, Withered Throne. And first of all, I would like to ask you, which instruments did you play in each of these bands?
Basically, all of them I was playing guitar, except I was doing some additional keys in Wizard Throne as well. And I think maybe I did some additional stuff for Traces. I can't. It was so long ago. Maybe I did like one thing in the studio or something like this. I can't remember. But yeah, mostly guitar.
Cool. And since there are so many bands, we go now band by band. I would say so that the audience can still follow. So Traces, which was later renamed into Saturnian, was your first real professional band, right?
Yeah, like semi-professional, I guess. But like, it was the first band I played with where we had like constant shows. We had a record deal. We did a couple of UK tours. I think previous to that, I was just a bedroom musician, probably. And I was super close to, I didn't know what to do with my life. I was like 19, 20. I was super close to joining the Navy. So, because I just wanted to travel the world, you know. And at that point I was like, I just need to do something to get out of here. I remember I filled in the forms from the recruitment office, and the day I was going to go back to hand them in on MySpace, so it's like 2009, I saw this band Traces, who I was kind of following, looking for a guitar player. And I spoke with my parents, and I was like, look, I'm going to like give this one more shot, you know, see what happens. And they were like super supportive, you know, they were like, if you want to do it, then of course we can help you. So I auditioned for them. They hired me straight away. Then there was some issue with the record label. I can't remember what. So we changed the name to Saturnian. We were first non-Scandinavian band to be signed by Indie Recordings, which is a Norwegian label, which had like some cool bands like Satiric on it. We were the first band to sign with them. We did some European shows. Chris from Ailstorm helped me get a booking agent for like the rest of the world, and we began to book shows, but then I think kind of half the band wanted to commit and half the band kind of just wanted to do it for fun, you know. So we decided it was best, like rather than just replacing people and all fighting, we were like, let's just finish it, you know, finish here. Yeah, so that was kind of the end of that. But it was like I made some good contacts through the band in the early days. It was kind of, for example, how I became friends with Chris and Jim, I think.
Nice. And Nexus and Furius was the first band that you really did big European tours with big bands like Behemoth and Cannibal Corpse and Septic Flesh. How was that for you? Because you were still very young when you did that, right?
Yeah, I think through the reputation I had in the UK from playing with Saturnian, I was recommended by 2 or 3 people to this band who were beginning their first tours. And yeah, the first tour was this big tour with Cannibal Corpse, Behemoth, Misery Index and some other bands. And yeah, it was like a totally different experience, you know. Previously we'd like driving to shows in like Newcastle in a car or whatever, and for the first time we were on like a nightline. They were playing with like really, you know, bands that at the time, some of my favourite bands. And it was my first experience, I guess, of like a fully professional production, you know, like standing there and watching Behemoth playing like 30 times in a row is kind of how I like almost created this character for Zargothrax in a way, because I was and all my stage persona was based on just watching these big real bands, you know, performing, and I was just stood there every night like, wow, you know, these guys are like another level, and you just try and copy like little things from each. It was a good experience, like a good learning experience, but the band kind of had some internal issues, and I think we only lasted for like 6 months or something before it kind of like fell to pieces. And I was a little pissed off because I quit university to join the band at the time. I went back like a year later maybe, but yeah, then again, you know, making like contacts, like Gloryhammer now have the same booking agent as Nexus and Furius did back then, Dominic. And he was like, I think obviously he's still younger than me, but back then he was like 20, I was like 22 or something like this, you know. We were on like a tour bus together, and then years later we had the offer to work with him again. I was like, I know this guy, you know, he's good, he's great. So again, making contacts, which became pretty useful like many years later.
And now we also know where Zargothrax's darkness comes from.
Yeah, he's a secret black metal fan, or it's not so secret, I guess. But
no. And talking about Deathcode Society, you recently left Deathcode Society. Can you tell me a bit about your time in the band?
Yeah. They're a pretty small band from France, which I discovered when I was playing in Saturnian, because they play a similar style of black metal. And we began talking online, and I became friends with the main composer, like exchanging ideas and stuff. Their guitar player passed away, I think, in 2017 or 18, and they still had some concerts booked which they wanted to honour. So he messaged me and he asked me, like, I know it's a big job, but like, can you perform these shows? Because we don't know if there will be a future with the band. But so I did the shows, and then pretty much they were like, decided we want to continue. Would you join as a full member? So we wrote like an album together, which I'm pretty proud of, and we're still like really good friends. But again, when I was like thinking this year about like happiness and how I want to use my time and stuff like this, I decided I can't like split all my energy so much, and it's very time consuming to practice these songs and perform them because it's super technical. We only really have like 1 or 2 concerts a year, and so if I'm spending like 6 weeks preparing for one concert, then it's probably bad for my other projects, so we just parted as friends. But I mean, we just finished working with the singer on something for Gloryhammer, so which we can discuss in a moment.
Cool. I think it's a good decision because we don't want Zargothrax to get a burnout. Or
No, of course.
And you also mentioned earlier that your journey from switching from keyboard to guitar was also influenced by playing tours with 2 other bands, and that was Ingested and Ramahoy, right?
Well, I think Ramahoy, technically, I was just lending the guitar player my gear and then following him around, taking pictures of him because he looked so good with it, But like Ingested, Ingested are a death metal band from the UK, and I've known them since like maybe 2009 as well. We were on the same record label with Traces. The drummer, Lynn, also played in Nexus and Furius. So we already had some like, chemistry. And they asked me last year to fill in for some, it was like a UK tour with Lorna Shore, and a European tour with like Archspire and some festivals, then an Australian tour with Archspire as well, which was really cool.
You had to learn an 8-string guitar, right, for that?
Yeah, kind of. Like it was the first time I really played an 8-string was the night before playing Download Festival. I went to the other guitarist's house and I was like, okay, this is weird, but I think I can do it, And then the next show was Download. So that was an experience, but it's fun, like death metal isn't like 100% my music, but I really like the guys and the songs are super fun to play, I will be doing a couple more shows with them in the UK in December.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about Withered Throne, guys. We were just transitioning. So this is the Withered Throne t-shirt.
Yeah, this is
because you're still in Withered Throne.
This was one that Chris made for to wear on stage with Ailstorm, actually, and he just showed up with it. I don't even know where we were, but he was wearing this t-shirt, and I was like, please give me this t-shirt. And he was like, whatever, like, if you love it so much, just take it. We are still working on Wizard Throne 2. Actually, I sent an idea to Chris and Matt maybe 3 days ago. I woke up at 7 a.m. and I just wrote the first thing that came to my mind, even before I had a coffee. And they're both like, "Oh my God, please, can this be a Wizard Throne song?" I was just like, "Yeah, sure, So there's a bit more of a spark behind it now. I guess we kind of have some more direction, and we managed to complete the lineup as well. So we have a bass player now and
a new singer, right?
The singer will be me, yeah. I think I posted this online a few times, but I did a lot of the backing vocals on the first album as well, and, it will be pretty easy, I think.
Cool. So you're guitarist and singer now?
Yeah, we'll see. We still need to finish the album, and then I guess at that point we will have enough songs to play at live shows. So we'll see. Maybe it's still 1 or 2 years away, but it will happen.
Could you also imagine to go on tour with Gloryhammer, with the Throne and Gloryhammer together, or would that be too tiring for you?
Maybe it's doable. I mean, I did. I've played 2 shows in a row before. We could also add Ailstorm in there, so Chris will be there as well.
Yeah, then you both can play in 2 bands.
Every single band is playing, But yeah, maybe we'll see. But the styles are quite different, so and I guess we want to aim more in like a black metal-y, death metal-y crowd, you know. We'll see.
And while we're talking about black metal and power metal, which bands and musicians inspired you most when you decided to become a musician yourself?
In the very beginning, when I was learning piano as a child, I was really only interested in classical, so I think Beethoven was my favorite then. But my parents were always playing like Queen or Black Sabbath or Iron Maiden or Def Leppard, you know, and I kind of liked this stuff as well. I think when I got a little bit older, I began listening to Ozzy Osbourne's solo material, and I think that was the first time like hearing like Randy Rhoads, Jake E. Lee, Zakk Wylde, like all these amazing guitarists, you know. And I remember like watching some video somewhere, or a friend had a DVD maybe, and I was just like, wow, you know, like, and it just blew me away. And I was already beginning to learn bass guitar, and as soon as I watched this DVD, I just was like, no, I'm buying a 6-string and practice like crazy and I basically stopped playing piano for quite a long time then.
How old were you when you got your first guitar?
I think it was maybe my 14th birthday.
Oh.
Yeah. So something like this. And then I was like exploring more into more subgenres of metal, you know. I was really then into like Metallica, like I said, Ozzy, Pantera, like typical stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I began to explore like black metal and death metal. And I remember the big like eye-opening moments, I guess, for bands that really inspired me to write music was first hearing Emperor. Mm-hmm. I had a friend who had a huge CD collection, and she burned like a lot of like black metal stuff, like old school 90s stuff. And I remember just hearing Emperor, and I think it was the first time I really heard like classical music and metal music together. Mm-hmm. And like suddenly this old memories from like learning as a kid, like classical stuff, and then the metal stuff I was learning just like, just like exploded in my brain, you know. And I was like, wow, you know, this is like exactly what I want to hear. And then maybe like a few months later, I was going through some guitar magazine my dad had sent me from America, and there was this tiny little picture of some guy holding a Randy Rhoads guitar, and it was the band Children of Bodom. Mm-hmm. And I remember like looking at him, and I was like, well, he clearly has like a good taste in guitar, so I will check out his band, you know. And as soon as I think the CD was Follow the Reaper, and like it was like the Emperor experience times 10, you know. Like suddenly like some band had mashed together every single thing I enjoyed about music, and from then on it was like non-stop practicing every day. And other bands, you know, later like finding Sonata Arctica or anyone really who's melding like some classical and metal stuff always inspired me the most, you know. Nightwish or other like symphonic bands as well. Dimmu Borgir, like anything like this was my number one for quite a long time. So I think that probably shaped, you know, now coming full circle into playing Gloryhammer, which is symphonic power metal, you know. There's elements of this all came together in Gloryhammer as well.
Guys, finally, I mean, this was super interesting, but you're also waiting, because it's a Gloryhammer interview, you're waiting for the Gloryhammer stuff, so no problem. No, they want to know that too, I'm pretty sure. Please comment. That was interesting, right? But now we're going to talk about the other interesting stuff, the new Gloryhammer single, because Gloryhammer is working on a new single as we speak, right?
That's right.
Can you tell me more about that?
When we did the last record, we, as always, hastily composed a long epic song from essentially most of the leftover riffs, some cool new stuff. And one thing we were always joking about throughout the album writing process was some nonsense character called the Robot Prince of Octatool.
And you also have a t-shirt, a merch that people can buy, right?
Yeah. We have a lot of robot stuff now. But for some reason, this passage, which really didn't take us very long to compose, became like really popular with the fans. I think they can relate to this character because we made him sound like the greatest thing ever, you know, and he kind of shows up and he's like, I'm going to win this war, and then like instantly dies. And I guess people thought it was like funny, you know.
Is he a bit like the Jar Jar Binks of the Gloryhammer universe?
Yeah, except like way cooler, but even more useful.
And a robot. Yeah.
And a robot. Probably one of the biggest requests we had since releasing the album was like, please play the song live, you know, like almost daily. Someone's commenting or anything we post, they're like, oh, you know, Robot Prince. And we're like, yeah, of course, you know, it's cool, but like, it's like a 13-minute long song, you know, like we would have to like cut like so many other songs to do it, and there would be disappointed fans, you know. So we thought like, okay, we can take some of the themes and create like a new song, and also give him a bit more of a backstory, because no one really knew anything about him. Like even though we in the band, you know, we're always talking about Robot Prince, we like know everything about him, but we didn't really give him much in the album apart from being killed off straight away. So the song will explore like the story, a bit more about how he came to be, and then there will also be like a video for the single as well.
An animated video, right? And you're working with the same team who made the Celestial Flame video.
Canadian guys led by Alex Henderson is his name, and he's working on that. I think we had like the first rough revisions the last few weeks, so yeah, it's guaranteed to look amazing again. You know, he's kind of a genius when it comes to animation. So yeah, I guess by the time this is out, the video will be released, and hopefully it's as good as I think it's going to be, you know.
Yes, and we put the link here for you to see the video, and we probably insert some screenshots of the video. You are actually just coming from a recording session with Sozos in France, right?
Yeah, that's right. Like the production this time, we took a different approach because it's like a single. It's a good opportunity to experiment, and I had a few questions I want to answer when it comes to like how we record and produce a song. So we actually recorded the drums and guitars and bass in England with an old friend of mine, a guy called George Lever, who now is famous for working with Sleep Token on Monuments and more like progressive metal stuff, you know. But he's like a genius when it comes to recording drums. So we recorded the drums in like a 1,000-year-old chapel somewhere in the west of England, with an amazing studio built in, like state-of-the-art. We recorded the guitars and bass at his home studio, and then for the vocals I wanted to really try and push Sozos. So we flew to the singer from Deathcode Society's studio in Annecy, in the Alps, and we recorded the vocals. And I really enjoyed this way of working. I think all of us did, because, you know, I'm kind of sitting there, Sozos is in the microphone booth, and Arnaud is like this vocal guru. So, you know, if I'm saying to Sozos, like, can you do it again, but like a bit more like this? And Arnaud is then able to say like, hey, you know, why don't you try like pretending you're crushing a coconut while you're singing this high note, and it will give like more power. And then Sozos did it, and it was so great to have this like intermediate, almost like a translator from my like stupid moron speak into like singer talk, you know. And it was super smooth. Like, I think we really enjoyed this way of working. So now we have all the tracks recorded. We last minute, like yesterday I think, decided to hire a choir for some parts. Just before the deadline, obviously, you hire a choir. That's like a normal thing to do.
Of course, make it more interesting, right?
Make it more complicated. And then as soon as I got home from this trip to Helsinki, we send the files to Jacob Hansen, who's, I guess he's famous for like Epica, Amaranth, bands like this, you know, and I really like his production style. I think it's a good fit for where Gloryhammer is going. And just as an experiment, we decided to try to do 2 older songs as well, just to see, like, because the band is quite different now to when it began in 2009. You know, we had like, we're on our 3rd vocalist. Chris is still kind of in the background, but not so much. And obviously now I'm on guitar, so we were like, hey, well, people are always asking like, oh, can you record like old albums, re-record them? And then like, so we're not going to do that because it's part of the band's history. But we're like, okay, we can give like a couple of songs, so maybe people who don't have the chance to watch us live at least know what Gloryhammer sounds like in 2024, you know.
And it's 2 Gloryhammer favorites. Can you already reveal which 2 songs were re-recorded?
Yeah, it will be, I think, the first ever Gloryhammer song, or certainly the first one I ever heard, which was way back in 2009 with the original vocalist, Anthony Trimming, when I was at Jim's house. We were like just drinking cider, and he's like, hey, check out this band I'm going to do with Chris. And he showed me Unicorn Invasion of Dundee was the song. And
it's also one of my favorite Unicorn songs ever.
I don't know if these demos are online. I don't know if you've heard them, but like they're on YouTube or probably some other website somewhere. And I remember he showed me this demo, and he was like, oh, Napalm Records are going to sign this band. It's going to be huge. And I was like, yeah, good luck with that, you know, like, this sucks. But then they released the original album, and actually it sounded great, you know. So I kind of thought it would be a good reference point to have this song which has had every version of Gloryhammer, you know, from the demo to the first real album to now, you know, there can be like a chance for people to hear how the song has evolved over the course of probably like 15 years, you know. There's also like guitar parts that changed to match what Paul is playing live now, for example. He changed some stuff a bit, and Solus adds his own like inflections onto the vocals. So, I mean, you know, there's still the old versions if people want to listen to them. It's not going to change anything, but it's a cool bonus if people want to hear it. And then because we had the studio booked, we just decided to record Hoots Force for fun, you know, because it's a fun song, and we were like, okay, if we're doing one old one, we may as well do like a kind of mid-era one as well. So yeah, I mean, it's just bonus stuff for fun, but hopefully people enjoy it. And if you don't, then you listen to the old ones, you know.
Yeah, leave it in the comments. And I think I'm probably not the only one who is excited to hear Hoots Force with Sosos's voice.
Yeah, I think it sounds pretty cool. You know, it's obviously it's different, but like it's neat to hear it like interpreted differently.
I got to hear the latest version of your new single, He Has Returned, and it sounded amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're pretty happy with how it turned out. Like, it was a weird way to write a song because we were taking stuff that already exists from Maleficus, Geminus.
And it was you and Chris who wrote this, right?
Yeah, well, Chris kind of wrote the melodies, I believe, for the original part on the last album. Whilst we were on tour in Beast in Black, we kind of cemented the idea, and I began to write like an intro, like a first riff kind of thing, like this more industrial. Like, it was kind of because the song is about a robot. I was thinking more like about bands like Amaranth and Pain, even like Eskimo Callboy, where they have this like hard electro sound, you know, because it's robotic. So in my head, it had to be like really Pain was the main influence. And they sent the stuff to Chris. He kind of like added a tiny bit and then sent it back to me. And then I basically began to organize the structure, and I think I just got like pretty stressed, and I just got really drunk one night, and I was like, I'm finishing this song before tomorrow morning it's being finished, you know, and I just stayed up until 4 o'clock in the morning working on it. Woke up feeling kind of crappy, and I was like, I hope that song's good, because I really don't want to work on it anymore, you know. And I listened back and I was like, actually, you know, I sent it to the guys and they were like, yeah, this is cool. I think
So that's the secret of the magic of the song?
it's like what was the what was the author? I need to Google this.
Yes, okay. We can cut it out or we leave it in because it's funny.
Oh, no, yeah. It's kind of like Ernest Hemingway, you know, where he's like write drunk, edit sober was his like catchphrase. And did he actually say that? Sorry.
Let's check. Guys, we're doing serious journalism here. Let's check if Ernest Hemingway actually said
Or
that.
someone else.
Was it? Mark Twain said a lot of things too, but Mark Twain said things about cats.
It was apparently Hemingway. Oh,
yeah.
Or maybe he never said that. But we can pretend he did.
Okay, it is attributed to Hemingway.
So that's the fun fact. He didn't say that. But that's what I did. And the only change afterwards, I think I sent the song to Chris just before we went to the studio. And he was like, this like 5-second clip can probably disappear, you know, it's a bit boring. So we just cut 1 5-second bit, and yeah, it was done. And yeah, I think it worked pretty well.
Yeah, what I've heard so far, I think it's great already, and I can't wait to listen to the finished version.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, when that comes out, you guys can probably all listen to it. We can all listen to it together.
I've heard it before us, so that's cool.
Yeah, because we're time traveling here. We're coming to you from the past, from like 4 months from the past.
Yeah.
Okay, we already revealed a lot about Gloryhammer's future, but are there any other future plans with Gloryhammer we haven't talked about yet?
By this point, we will have announced a UK tour in January to promote the new single. We still didn't do a proper UK tour from the last album either, so I guess that will be basically the end of the last album cycle for touring. Then we already began to write the 5th album. Paul completed a pretty cool song, and we have like a million other ideas that are ready to be turned into songs. We also have quite a big festival season planned, like European festivals. It's possible that when this comes out, otherwise we have to cut this, that we announced our first ever South American tour in Brazil, Chile, Colombia and Argentina. And that will be super cool. You know, Mexico was amazing, so I'm looking forward to going to South America. I was there with an old band 10 years ago, but this will be the first time for any of Gloryhammer. And then, yeah, hopefully a new record later in 2025, all going to plan.
Cool. Yeah, and I feel the Latin American fans are so passionate about metal.
Yeah, they're super crazy. We had friends from Ailstorm and I think Windrose just completed the tour there. I was speaking with their guitar player the other day, and he said it was pretty amazing, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, did we cover everything, or should we still talk about cats, maybe? Because a lot of metalheads love cats, and I know we both fall into that category too.
I love cats. I have like several cat visitors who come to my house basically every day, and one of them had a kitten, so now he's coming over as well. So I think I have like 5 regular visitors.
Yeah, I bet all the neighborhood cats think, hey, let's hang out at Mike's place. It's cool there.
I don't know why. Probably because I keep giving them treats, but like,
Food always.
yeah, it's nice.
I think that's a good way for a musician who's touring so much to enjoy cats as well.
Yeah, just like casual visitors.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a shared cat in Switzerland. Yeah. Since we talked already about so many bands that Mike works with and was in or is in, what are bands that you listen to right now in your free time?
I think like from new bands, I'm really enjoying like Crown Shift, which is the project of my friend Daniel from Children, and he also has some guys with pretty good pedigrees like Nightwish, Winter Sun, Fintroll and stuff like this. And they just put an album out, which is pretty cool. And he's a really incredible musician as well. Like I was super happy because I kind of followed his career from like being a little nerd as a teenager. I was happy to see him go from like Nail Down to Norva to eventually Children Bodom. You know, I thought it was cool that someone who was as passionate about this style of music as me got to kind of be in Children Bodom, you know. And then obviously when the band split and everything that happened afterwards, you know, I felt kind of bad for him because I was like, man, this guy's so good. He needs to do something, you know. So he released this album, which is really cool. And then I've really been enjoying, like, we toured a few times now with this Swedish band, Brothers of Metal, which I already mentioned. Mats is the reason why he's ruined Gloryhammer for everyone, and we no longer have a keyboard player.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah,
Greetings.
cheers.
We had a super nice interview with Mats, by the way.
Thanks, Mats. But yeah, I'm listening to their stuff, and actually it's really cool, you know. I think so much modern power metal can kind of be the same, but what Brothers of Metal are doing, there's so many different influences, you know. There's like going from like folk metal to power metal to then some like kind of Meshuggah riff thrown in the middle of nowhere, you know, and it works. And all this somehow with having like 1,000 members, or 8 as it were. 8, 9? I can't even remember. I don't. Someone tell me please how many members.
I think 7 or 8.
Yeah.
We have to correct that, and we say all the numbers and we cut the wrong numbers out. Yeah.
But like they have many members, and somehow everything is working really well, both on and off stage. So yeah, if you didn't already check those guys out, then check them out, you know.
Yeah, and I have to say, exactly 1 week ago, I have this super nice interview with Crown Shift with Daniel and Yuka. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I don't know Yuka, but Daniel is cool.
He's fun too. Yeah.
Nice.
Both of them are fun. Yeah.
Nice.
Then thank you so much for this interesting, fun interview, Mike.
Thank you for finding the time to meet me while I don't know what I'm doing here. I guess I'm kind of on holiday, you know, but...
Just hanging out close to the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, something like that, you know. But yeah, thank you. And cheers, everyone. I hope you enjoy the new song when it comes out. And we'll see you probably next year.
Cool. Yes. Goodbye from the Music Interview Corner. And see you in the future.
Bye.